Well, I'm recording now, and if you could just say and spell your name to start off, and your husband's name, if you would, too, and spell it, that would be great.
Okay, my name is Annette Wilson, Annette, Wilson, Wilson. My husband's name was Wray, Wray, Wilson, Wilson.
And that, tell me, I know we just kind of went over it, but let's just start from the beginning of this year. It's been hard on a lot of people, and you and your husband were no exception. When did things kind of take a turn for the worst at first?
Well, the day that he was furloughed on April the 1st, his company called and told them that they were furloughing him. And so we immediately applied for unemployment, and we were granted the unemployment, and we went through the unemployment and exhausted it, that our last payment was on June 26th. So we went in there and asked for an extension. And, we didn't hear anything. Well, then on July I believe it was July the 6th, we looked on his account, and it said that there was a problem with a Social Security name. And so they asked for proof of ID. So my husband has a Social Security number that says Wray Henry Wilson, and my husband is from Puerto Rico. And in Latin countries, they use their mother's maiden name as part of their ID. So his driver's license says Wray Henry Wilson Oliver. So there's two different IDs, two different names on the IDs, but they asked us to send a copy. So I did. I uploaded a copy. I faxed to them the documents that they requested, did everything that they asked us to do. And we waited and waited, and he kept on saying pending. So I went out to the chat with the unemployment, and I explained to them, I've sent everything you asked for. What's going on? And our account was escalated, or my claim was escalated 6 times. And every time they said, oh, we've passed this on, we've passed this on. And then one of the times they said that it was escalated to a manager. And so we thought, okay, at any time this is going to get resolved. Well, then we got notice that there was a problem. They wanted his last pay stub. And so we had never heard that they wanted his last pay stub. And so we sent the information. And if I step back for just a minute, before the pay stub, they told me that it had been assigned to somebody. And the next time that my husband went out there to file his certification, they said for the month of August, they listed each week, and they said, was your furlough or let go due to COVID? And he answered yes on all 4 of those weeks. So fast forward, we thought, okay, somebody's working on it. Well, then the next chat that we had, they said they were missing the last pay stub. And it was like, okay, nobody ever said before that they needed the last pay stub. This is really odd. But all ready to send it to them. And then my husband passed away suddenly on Labor Day, September the 7th. So with him being gone, I am not sure how I proceed. I don't want to lie to unemployment and go out there and pose as my husband, because that's not right. And I don't want to do anything to jeopardize the claim or that I could get in trouble about.
I hear you, yeah, and I'm so sorry. And What's it been like emotionally, just between these financial struggles and then, dealing with the emotions of losing a loved one at the same time?
Well, prior to his passing, I mean, we've been waiting 13 weeks, and I have been able to work. I don't make an exuberant amount of money, and we have, done the best we can, and we've gotten extensions on our mortgage and on our car payment. But now we've run out of extensions. And for my mortgage this month, my church is helping me to pay it because the bank will no longer give me any extensions. So this has just been a huge financial burden for us because with only one income, it required two incomes for us to live. And we're not getting anything. It's very hard.
And besides just the financial struggles, I mean, what about emotionally? And on top of that, losing your husband, I mean, I just can't imagine.
Well, I mean, it was emotional not getting any money with the unemployment because they kept on saying, you should be getting a payment, you should be getting a payment. And then on top of that, losing him and having to go out there and do everything you do when a loved one passed, I haven't been able to actually grieve over this whole thing because it's just been so massive. I mean, maybe some other people handle it differently. I'm overwhelmed. I am so overwhelmed.
So sorry. So you haven't even, it hasn't even sunk in yet because of how much is on your shoulders right now, you're saying?
Exactly. I mean, I just haven't stopped. And I just want to be done with this and get this resolved. I mean, it's a big chunk of money for us. Anything is a chunk of money when you don't have anything. And it's just very frustrating,
And
you
was his
know.
was his death sudden, or what happened?
He passed away in his sleep on Labor Day at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Were you the one who found him, or how did what was that unexpected and I mean, I'm just trying to figure out if this was like a complete came out of nowhere or something, he had something.
Yes, yes, it came out of nowhere. It came out of nowhere. He has been doing fine, healthy, you know. It just it was very sudden, very sudden. I had no indication of anything.
And you were the one who found him?
Yes, he woke me up at 5:08 on Monday morning, and I heard him let out a loud snore, which was not unusual for him. But that time, he let out that loud snore, and I was lying beside him and thinking, okay, anytime now, what's going on here? And then I said, something's wrong. Something's wrong. And I called my friends and they came in and they were like, trying to wake him up, but he was already gone.
Wow. And do you know what caused it, or did the doctors have any idea, or what happened?
The coroner, they did an autopsy, and the autopsy has not shown anything. And so we really don't have any closure as far as what happened to him. They are supposed to be doing the toxicology report, and hopefully, we'll find out something from that. But no, they have no idea.
What was your husband like, and I mean, what will you miss the most?
Well, we were high school sweethearts from,
So for a second, I hear a little background noise, and that you're saying some important things. So, okay.
okay.
Was there someone on the phone back there or something?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all right. So yeah, if you could step, well, let me know whenever you think we'll get a minute. Yeah, I just want to hear, what you'll miss, about your husband, and tell me about your husband and what you'll miss.
Okay, hang on. Let me make sure she's done. Hang on, okay?
All right, sure.
Hold on. Okay, I think I'm good.
All right, sounds good. So yeah, want to hear just, tell me so people can understand a little bit or know your husband a little bit through you. What was he like and what will you miss the most?
Well, back in 1982, I lived in Puerto Rico, where he was from. And we started dating. We dated for about a year. And during that year, he was 17 years old. I was 19 years old. And his parents had plans for him to go to college and everything like that. And they weren't really into us being together. They wanted him to, have a future in college and stuff. So I came back to the States brokenhearted. And uh, he was my first true love that I never got over. And we both went our separate ways, stayed in contact kind of off and on over the years. But he got married, I got married. He never had any children. I had 2 children. And so in 2014, he said to me, what if I come for a visit and maybe we get back together? And it's like, I've been waiting for this call for 32 years. Yes, please come here. He came here. He never went back. And in November of that year, we got married. And he was, we had a fantastic marriage. He was a very loving husband. And he, as a matter of fact, he asked permission from my children if he could marry me, which was a wonderful thing. And he accepted them. He treated them as his own. And it was just like he was there for them, for whatever they needed.
And what was he, so you got married what year?
We got married in 2014.
And what was he like as a person? Like help people understand, like if people were to meet him, what would he be like?
Well, he never met a stranger. He was in sales. And so he was all the time being around people. He was a people person. I had already lived in my house for 5 years, but I didn't know my neighbors. Ray met them all in 1 week. He was just a very people person, liked to visit with people. He loved to play golf. He had played golf since he was 7 years old down in Puerto Rico. So he was an avid golfer. He loved that.
Personality?
Excuse me?
Did he have a captivating personality? Sounds like he drew attention from people.
Oh, yeah. And, he knew how to smooth and put on the charm. And, a lady, one time he was at the grocery store here and he wore cologne. And this older lady came up to him and said, "Oh, you smell so good." And he said, "Oh, let me lean in a little closer so you can smell me better." So he just was a very personable person. And, now through his death, different ones have reached out to me and said, "Oh, we loved Ray." And he had some doctors here. 3 of his doctors have called me personally and said how sorry they are. His job, they sent me flowers and said Ray was such a great part of our company. And Ray was always expecting that maybe they would take him back once all this finished. And I've gotten cards from different departments of his company that he's not even there anymore, but they sent them to me. So there's so many people that have reached out. And, he was just, I remember him, we've grown up together as childhood friends. People I don't even know. And they're writing to me and saying how much he touched their lives.
And so in like 2 or 3 words, what are 2 or 3 words or a few words that come to mind when you think of him?
Very loving, faithful, handsome. He was a handsome man.
Okay. And let's see. So did you talk about I know we talked about the delays you were facing with the unemployment system. Did you talk about how many times it's been escalated?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, he knew. He was right beside me when we were doing these things. And when we were sending in the information.
I mean, did you tell me just during this interview yet? I know we've covered a lot of ground. What tell me again if you, I don't know if you touched on that already, but if you could just briefly let me know. I mean, your claim had you're telling me you had the runaround as far as escalations go.
That's correct. I mean, I had chatted, or I did it on his behalf because he wasn't good with computer like I was. And he would be right beside me doing these things. And we chatted with the different groups because we couldn't get through on the phone line. It was one day where Ray stayed on hold for 8.5 hours. And so the next day, I was home from my job. We had two phones. Mine went for 7.5 hours, and his went for 8 hours on hold. Nobody ever picked up. So the chats, we did the chats, and every time, they're like, oh, well, we understand your situation. We're escalating this. And so we're thinking, okay, it's escalated. Okay. And they're like, you should be getting a payment. No problem. Look for next week. Well, next week, nothing happens. We chat again. Oh, it's been escalated. It was escalated 6 times. And the last time it was escalated, supposedly, it was sent to a manager. The chat group, the manager from the chat group said, I'm sending this to the manager of the other department. So, we really thought, okay, escalation, come on now.
Yeah, I hear you. And so just so I get the timeline right, your husband was furloughed in April, correct?
April the 1st.
And then he applied immediately and got benefits immediately from regular unemployment?
That's correct.
Not the pandemic unemployment assistance program, it was regular unemployment.
It was, I'm not sure if it was the COVID or not. I'm not sure.
You don't know, okay, because I know there's, before COVID, there was, just your regular unemployment benefits. And then since COVID, there's been what's called the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program. Do you know what program?
I think it was the regular.
Okay.
But they did make comment in one of the chats, and they said, you haven't filled out the COVID form. I'm like, what is the COVID form? I have no idea. I thought we had already done that when we did our first claim.
So so you got the money pretty quickly on the first
yes.
For regular unemployment. So he applied it in April and immediately got them pretty much.
That's correct.
And that lasted through July.
Yeah, July 26th. Through June 26th was the last payment we received.
And then at that point in June, right when the last payment went, around the time the last payment went through, you applied for an extension, and you're still waiting for that since June.
That's correct.
Okay.
The end of June.
An extension through the pandemic program, because I think
I think that's what it's going to be. Yes.
I believe there's some kind of funding that the state has received to help people with extensions due to the pandemic. So maybe it could be a combination possibly of first you were on regular unemployment and now they need to see some kind of evidence for the pandemic side of things to do an extension. Is that your understanding?
Yes. And I had seen somewhere where Governor Cooper had issued a $900 payment to individuals on the unemployment due to the COVID, but we haven't seen anything of that.
Yeah, okay. And so at this point, what's your plan for what you're going to do, and what do you want to see happen?
First of all, I'm going to be able to pay some of my bills that I've been putting off. It's been very, very hard. And I just want to get this resolved in the legal way. With my husband being passed away, I'm not him, and I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be doing or what. So the resolution is that we get the money that's owed to us.
And so in the mean, obviously, when we do these stories, you know, I typically reach out to the state. I'm going to see if a representative can give some information about your case and or your husband's case, and what, you know, what's going on with that. In the meantime, so, you know, in the days and weeks to come, are you planning to take any action, or what's next for you?
I have no idea. I have no idea what to do. I really don't. I'm exhausted from all of this. You know, I've jumped through all their hoops that they've asked, and we still have no payment. So I really don't know.
Well, I'm so sorry. Hopefully we can bring some answers for you. And I'm going to let my manager know as soon as we get off here, just kind of what our conversation was like. And when we have, obviously, unfortunately, there's a lot of people who've been struggling. Your story is the first I've heard, you know, of the situation you're in. We have one like airing on Sunday, but I think yours definitely is obviously urgent for you and the situation. So I'm going to just talk it over with my manager and see, you know, when he wants to potentially air the story and what the next step will be. And I'll keep you posted. And I'll also, is there anything I'll reach out, you know, when we do the story to the state and see what information I can get. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you think is important for the story?
Well, I have documentation of his social, his driver's license, his last pay stub that I can send to you, email to you. I have no problem to do that. I can send that to you. That way that if you have to refer to his account, you are able to do that on our behalf. Is that okay?
Any information, I'm trying to, yeah. I mean, I typically with these stories, I'll talk it over with my manager about what information to use for this story. But I think we'll obviously need documentation to do the story. So typically what we do is just, and it's a little different because it's not your account, but like normally it's the person's account who sends us, you know, any kind of snapshots and things. But and for sure, what I would want is like pictures of you and your husband, if you could send those. If you have any emails that, you know, could show that he, you know, his job, I don't know if any communication he or you have had with the state, if that's in emails, or that his employer, you know, said, we're sorry, we're furloughing people or anything like that. Any of that you can send, and any documentation you think would be related to the story.
Okay, I will. I have a picture of us from 1982, and I have a picture of us from just this past weekend,
Perfect.
or Labor Day weekend.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that has a lot of, yeah, that's probably definitely a sentimental picture and something important to show. Um, and thank you so much. And I'm so sorry to hear what you're going through. And I will try to get let you know about the next step as soon as I find it. And you have my email and phone number, I believe. Or I can give you my phone number if you don't have it, but feel free to
Okay.
check back in. It's 704
Mm-hmm.
589 0557. 704-589-0557. And yeah, feel free to check on a follow-up. And yeah, anything, you know, any photos that you have. What did he do? Did you say what kind of job he had?
He was in sales for pipes, valves, and fittings.
So was it a sales for a manufacturing company or?
Yeah, international sales.
Okay.
Because
So if I had
he
to
was,
summarize what kind of job he did, would I call him a sales manager or
I would say, customer service rep in international sales.
okay. Did international sales for a manufacturing company?
Yes, out of Matthews. He
Okay.
actually, the company that he worked for, he had sold their product down in Puerto Rico through one of their distributors. So when he moved here, he said, I want to get a job with this company because I know their product. And when they hired him, all he had to learn was their software for selling their product. He already knew everything about their product.
Yeah. I hear you. Okay, so yeah, as far as documentation, I think, and I can send you an email list if it's easier, but just I think the common sense stuff that would occur to you, like the pictures, and so we can see your husband and you together. Any kind of documentation that you have of like the job telling him he was furloughed, any kind of documentation you have of like receiving benefits from the state, any letters that you guys received from the state or communication that said, that showed kind of the struggles you're having, or
Yeah.
anything, any other major events during the process that you have documentation of, that could kind of point to what you are describing.
Okay.
And if you have any questions while you're going through it, just feel free to reach out. But I think it's kind of just kind of trying to show what you've already described and any of the big events that you've described, just to kind of show the paper trail of those and the visuals for a personal story of you and your husband, if that makes sense.
Yep, it does indeed.
And I'll keep you posted. And like I said, keep in touch and let me know if you have any questions. And I'll, if I have an update about, the story being approved and airing and any of that, I'll let you know as soon as I hear anything too.
I really appreciate it. I mean, I feel desperate right now. You know what I mean?
I definitely do. And it's just even worse than what other people that I've talked to who are in a terrible situation are, because I mean, you're now, you lost your husband in addition, and now you have this extra, in addition to losing a loved one, and what the emotions that come with that, the financial struggles of like trying to figure out how to maneuver the benefits when it's not technically your account is also, a challenge.
Yeah, my hands are tied. My hands are tied.
Yeah, I hear you. And I don't know if have you called like the customer service and tried to tell them, the dilemma you're in with that, and have they given you any guidance? Like said, hey, this is what happened to my husband, and I don't know what steps I should be taking.
Well, I don't know if you remember, but I did call. He called one day and was on the phone on hold for like 9 hours, 8.5 hours. And then the next day we both called and nobody ever picked up. We were on hold, solid.
And so since he passed away, and
So,
you were asking me about, or telling me how you're not really sure, what you should be doing since it's not technically your account. I was just wondering if have you thought about reaching out to them? I know you've struggled getting a hold of them. I hear you totally, as have other people. You're not alone. But I'm just wondering if that was something you are considering.
I have not. I am scared to do that. I don't want to delay his claim in any way. Um, I have not called them. I feel like that will be a reason for them to delay the claim even more.
Because he passed away, you think they'll
Yes.
say, well,
Yes.
that'll put another obstacle in your way?
Yeah. I mean, here we go. Oh, well, now we need a copy of, you know what I mean? I don't mind to give them any type of documentation that they want, but it's like, okay, oh, now we need a copy of his death certificate. Oh, now we need to say that he is deceased and you're supposed to get the information. I mean, I just don't want to give them any reason to delay anything. I can't afford a delay. I've got to get resolution to this.
Yeah, I don't know. I understand what you're saying. I guess for them to have all the, I don't know what the exact requirements or qualifications are, but I just wanted to ask about that and just kind of check to see where you stood with things. So I appreciate you, you taking the time, Annette, and we will be in touch soon. And I'll let you know if I have any other questions too.
All right, very good. Thank you so much. And I will fax or scan those documents to you when I get back to my desk, and you'll have everything you need.
Okay, thank you so much. We'll be in touch.
All right, thank you.
All right, bye now.